Romans 3:28 says, "For we conclude that a person is justified by faith apart from the works of the law." That's a pretty well-known phrase. We've heard that a lot in church, right? Justified by faith, not by works. Saved by faith, not by works. Not by works, so that no one can boast, right? That's kind of at the core of the gospel message. We believe, we don't do anything, and that's how we get salvation. We don't earn it. So how on earth can the Bible, the same Bible, in James 2:24 say, "You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone"? How can it say that? Is it by faith apart from the works, or is it by works, not by faith alone? I've heard many explanations of this apparent contradiction, right? Do these agree? Do they not agree? And people can confuse it. Normally, I'd say go to the context. I'd say, well, read James 1 and 2, read Romans 1 through 3, read the Gospels, right? You'll see the stuff around what these verses are saying, and then you'll understand what the verses mean when they say what they're saying. And that's a good way to do it. However, James 2:24 here is the problem on its own. It's one little verse, and it speaks for itself. It's actually not a contradiction, and I'll show you. Just by going through word for word, you'll see it doesn't create a problem at all with salvation by faith alone apart from works. It doesn't. How are we going to do that? We're just going to look at the verse. We're just going to read it word for word. We're going to define each word in very simple terms so that you can see it as plain as day. Okay? So let's do it. James 2:24. It says, "You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone." First tricky word here, justified. What does that mean? That's a very common churchy word that nobody knows what it means. Let's just look in our dictionaries, okay, our English dictionaries. My Webster dictionary says justified means proved to be just, right, or reasonable, or with sufficient legal reason. Another option, regarded as righteous and worthy of salvation, or to be absolved. That means forgiven of a sin debt permanently. Okay, so which one of these definitions is it? What does justified mean in this verse? For the simplest possible way to do this, let's just assume it could be any and all of these definitions. Okay, proved to be just, right, reasonable, legally, regarded as righteous, worthy of salvation, to be completely forgiven of sin permanently. Let's boil all these down into a simple definition so we can just replace the word justified in the verse. Let's make it our definition, declared righteous. Okay, that's the phrase we're going to use for justified. So let's go back through it again and replace the word with our definition. James 2:24. "You see that a person is declared righteous by works and not by faith alone." Okay, so what do works and faith mean? Those are more churchy words, right? Let's assume the simplest possible explanation. Works is actions people do physically or outwardly. Works, actions, outward actions. Faith is an inward trust or belief. Works, outward action, faith, inward belief. So James 2:24 again, very simply, "You see that a person is declared righteous by outward actions and not by inward belief alone." That's it. Okay, all these words are very simple now. Maybe except for righteous. We'll just say that righteous means morally good, or that idea of being worthy of salvation. Okay. You see that a person is declared righteous or morally good by outward actions and not by inward belief alone. Okay, it might still sound problematic, and I'm going to point out the key here. The key, it's so easy to just read over it and miss it completely. It's the first two words of the entire verse. First two words. You see. That's it. That's the key. We see that people are declared righteous by outward actions and not by inward belief alone. He's talking to us, people. I'm just a man, right? I cannot see a spiritual reality. I don't see spiritual truths in front of me. I see physical stuff. I see matter. I see people. I don't see what's going on in their mind and in their heart with my eyes. I can't. Only God can do that, right? I'm not God. James says, I see, you people see that a person is declared righteous by his outward actions and not by his inward belief alone. If somebody says inward, I believe, I have faith in God, but he doesn't act like it, James is saying I can not believe him. I can say, okay, well, you're saying you're saved, but you're not, because you aren't acting like it. And that's all here, right in this verse, in those two words. You see that a person is declared righteous by outward actions and not by inward belief alone. There's no contradiction here. Salvation is still by faith alone, apart from works. But, like Jesus and John the Baptist said, right? What John the Baptist says, produce fruit, that's good works, righteous actions, in keeping with repentance or faith. You repented, you believed in God, okay? Act like it. What did Jesus say? He said, if you love me, you will keep my commands. You will obey me. You will do good works. Just because you said inside, I believe in God, but you don't act like it, you're either lying to yourself or you're just lying to others. You're not actually saved. And that's all right here in the verse. And yeah, it really is that simple. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. He's talking about our perspective, not about God's perspective or how to get saved. He's talking about how to tell somebody is saved. And it's that simple.